Alright, first up we have the general warm-up. So what exactly is a general warm-up? It consists of 5 to 10 minutes of slow aerobic activities such as jogging, skipping, cycling, jump roping, or jumping jacks. The main focus is to increase your heart rate, increase the blood flow, increase deep muscle temperature, increase your respiration rate and your perspiration rate, while also decreasing the viscosity of joint fluids. There are some positive effects on performance, which may include faster muscle contraction and relaxation of both agonist and antagonist muscles. There's improvements in the rate of force development and your reaction time. There's improvements in muscle strength and power, lowered viscous resistance in muscles and joints. There's also improved oxygen delivery, increased blood flow to active muscles, enhanced metabolic reactions, while also having an increase in psychological preparedness for performance. First up, we have jumping jacks. To begin a jumping jack, you start by standing with your legs straight and your arms by your side. Jump up and spread your feet beyond hip width apart while bringing your arms above your head, nearly touching. Jump again, lowering your arms and bringing your legs together, and then you would return to your starting position. So you're making a star shape and then a pencil shape. Star, pencil, star, pencil, star, pencil. And we're going to do this for a total of 1 minute consecutively. There are a few benefits to doing jumping jacks, such as improving aerobic capacity, decreasing your resting heart rate and blood pressure, decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease, and improves metabolism while also maintaining a healthy weight. The main reason for doing jumping jacks right now in our general warm-up is so that we can increase our heart rate, get that blood flow in, and get ready for the activity at hand. Next up, we have jump rope. For this exercise, you will need a rope. Unfortunately, I don't have a jump rope, so I just pretended like I did and used my hands and put them in circles. But the way to correctly do this exercise is swinging a rope around your body, so up and over, while jumping over it as it passes under your feet. This is a form of cardiovascular training since it's a constant movement and it elevates your heart rate, which is a great way to get warmed up and begin exercising. While doing this exercise, be sure to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. The goal isn't to go as fast as you can. The goal is just to go consecutively, slowly, while increasing that heart rate. If you want to make it harder, you can make it to where you're going faster and doing more tricks, such as 1 foot, 2 feet, and then switching it up. But for this, we're just going to do the regular 2 feet, slow going, just to increase our heart rate. I keep pausing because I'm trying to see what time it is. My apologies. For this round, we are going to do the heel-toe walk. For this exercise, you will stand erect with your feet parallel to each other and shoulder width apart. From there, you will take a small step forward with the right leg, place the heel of the right foot on the ground first, and then continue to dorsiflex that foot. Immediately roll forward and rise up as high as possible onto the ball of the right foot. Swing the left leg forward in order to take another small step, and you will repeat this with the left leg progressing forward with each step. So essentially, you're going heel all the way up to your toe. These muscles that are affected are the gastrocnemius, the soleus, and the anterior tibialis. With this exercise, you will kind of feel like a ballerina going up. It's a great general warm-up for gymnasts, cheerleaders, dancers, those sports specifically. This also does work a lot of balance as well. We have the straight leg march next. For this exercise, you are going to assume a tall standing position with both arms forward, outstretched in front of the chest. You will then rise up onto the toes of the straight leg and simultaneously, using a straight leg action, raise that right leg forward and up, aiming to actively move it through as large of a range of motion as possible. Once the highest point is reached, actively pull the leg back to the starting position. You will maintain a tall posture throughout and repeat on alternate legs as you move forward. Next up, we have walking lateral hip rotations. For this exercise, you assume a tall standing position with both arms by your side. You will then lift your knee up to your chest and rotate it out laterally while also taking a step forward while coming down. We will repeat this 3 times. So knee up to the side and down, knee up, side, down, up, side, down. And what this is doing is opening up those hip flexors and rotating those hips, getting you all warmed up in the lower body. Alright, following the general warm-up, we have the specific warm-up period. This incorporates movements similar to what the athlete's sports involve, so it's sports-specific movements and exercises to get them ready for practice ahead. First up, we have the forward lunge. Alright, to correctly do a forward-facing lunge, you will start by taking a large step forward and lowering yourself until your front leg and back leg are both at a 90-degree angle. That's usually at the point where your knee is almost touching the ground or does touch the ground, and from there you will push up into a standing position back to the start. You will then take a step forward and alternate legs, doing exactly what was just described. This specific warm-up is great for athletes that use a lot of lower body, such as catchers, basketball players, volleyball players, a lot of the athletes that are squatting and getting down. This warms up those knees, the hamstrings, quads, all the lower body. Next up, we have backward lunges. When completing a backward lunge, you want to stand upright with your feet shoulder width apart while holding your hands by your side. You will then lunge backward with your legs as far back as you can comfortably while dropping your hips downward. Once in the down lunge position, you will then push back up to the starting position with both feet at the same time. You will then repeat with the opposite leg and alternate for the desired number of passes or reps depending on what we're doing. Some common mistakes that usually occur is your front knee caves in, which usually means you have weak adductors or the muscles in your inner thighs need to be stabilized. You could also have weak glutes. Your sneakers could also be part of it. You also don't want to hunch over, so you don't want to go forward or too far back as well. Next up, we have inchworms. For the inchworms, you are going to stand erect with feet placed shoulder width apart. You will then slightly flex the knees, bend forward at the waist, and place hands shoulder width apart, flat on the floor. The weight of the body should be shifted back, for example, not directly over the hands or the buttocks high in the air. Imagine making an inverted V, and then you will move the hands alternately forward as if taking short steps with your hand until the body is all the way out, and then you will then walk the legs to the hands using small steps while keeping the knees slightly flexed, and you will also repeat this motion for the 3 passes. The muscles affected are the erector spinae, the gastrocnemius, gluteus maximus, hamstrings, soleus, and the anterior tibialis. With this one, there's different variations you can do. I was taught that my hands go out as far as I can and you get as close to the floor as you can, but there's also the way in the book states is you stop at a push-up position and then walk forward, so you would stop about right there, but I like to go a little bit further and push back because you work more of your core that way as well. But there's multiple different ways. Just make sure that you're not keeping your butt up in the air. You really want to engage your glutes, keep those legs tight and core tight as well. Next up, we have shoulder shrugs. Stand with the arms in front of the torso, fingers interlocked with the palms facing out. You will then slowly straighten the arms above the head with the palms facing up. So you want your palms to be facing up towards the ceiling. You will then continue to reach up with the hands and arms. So with this one, you want to think shoulders up to your ears and then back down. Shoulders up, down, and you're going to continue this for a set of 30. This one really works your latimus dorsi. This specific warm-up can be really great for setters such as volleyball players, or it could be really great for basketball players for when they're shooting up, shrugging their shoulders up through their ears. But this one can also be really great for gymnasts, for when they're pushing through the floor, blocking off through their exercises, dancers, and cheerleaders as well, for when they're popping up off and throwing the girl to catch them as well. Next up, we have walking knee lifts. For this exercise, we are going to start by standing erect with feet parallel to each other and shoulder width apart. You will then step forward with the left leg and flex the right hip and knee to move the right thigh upwards towards the chest. From there, you will grasp the front of the right knee or your upper shin and use the arms to pull the right knee up further and to squeeze the thigh against the chest. Dorsiflex the left foot as the right hip and knee are flexed, so you want to make sure that foot is up towards the ceiling. You will then keep the torso erect, pause for a moment, then proceed to step down with the right leg. Shift the body weight to the right leg and repeat the motion with the left leg. Progress forward with each step, increasing the range of motion and speed subsequent steps. The muscles affected throughout this exercise are your gluteus maximus and your hamstrings. This is a great stretch for cheerleaders and gymnasts for when they're setting to do flips such as backflips. Alright, first up we have modality number 1, which is agility training using ladders. Ladder drills help work on agility, balance, speed, and quickness by training the most useful movement patterns of the sport, which include hopping, bouncing, running forward, running backwards, and running laterally. Agility ladder drills work out and target your abdominal muscles, your calves, your glutes, your hip flexors, your hamstrings, lower back, your quadriceps, while also involving the biceps and shoulders and triceps, depending on the full body movement that's included. We talked about speed, agility, and quickness, but what exactly are those three things? So speed is the ability to move forward in one direction as fast as possible. Agility is the ability to accelerate, decelerate, and change directions as fast as you can. And quickness is how you're able to react or switch positions rapidly. First up, we have the 1-2 step forwards. For this exercise, we're going to go ahead and put one foot and then the second foot into the same box and then step in. So 1-2, 1-2 is why it's called the 1-2 drill. This exercise will get your players moving their feet quickly as they attempt to move up the ladder as quickly as possible whilst planting their feet inside each rung of the ladder. Some pointers is to make sure both feet must land inside each rung separately before moving to the next rung. You want to make sure that the athletes' heads and eyes are forward while concentrating on fast, light feet while pumping their arms as well. The next variation is the 1-2 step facing backwards. For this exercise, you will get your players moving their feet as quickly as they can to move up the ladder as quickly as they can while planting both the feet inside the rung of each ladder while facing backwards. So instead of going forwards, now they're going to turn around and go the opposite direction. Same thing, you want to make sure that both feet are in each ring before they move on. You want to make sure that for this one, they can put their head down just so they know what they're going, but you want to make sure that their eyes are forward. You want to make sure that they have fast feet, concentrating on the fast lightness and pumping their arms. It's okay if you mess up, just go ahead and start over just like my friend did here, and keep going. Next variation is laterally 1-2 step. So for this variation, instead of going forward or backwards with each foot hitting each ring, we're going to go laterally, so side to side. You want to make sure that you're keeping your arms by your side, pumping them, using them if you need to, knees up high, going fast and quick. This is a really great exercise for sports that involve a lot of pivoting, quick feet moving, constantly having to change direction. So for example, soccer or football or even basketball with all the different change work, because you're following the ball constantly, so you need to make sure that you're able to, if the ball gets thrown in opposite direction, you're able to follow that ball as fast as you can and get there as fast as you can. This variation is called in and out, and we're going to go the forward direction. For this drill, you're going to do 2 steps in, 1 foot out, 2 steps in, 1 foot out, 2 steps in, 1 foot out, 2 steps in, 1 foot out. So with this one, you're going to do in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out laterally. This is really good for agility and speed because you're also doing the change of direction while going as fast as you can. This is a great exercise for soccer players specifically, just because it's a lot of running, and then whenever they have to change for the ball direction, they're able to quickly get to that ball as fast as they can. Next up, we have in and outs backwards. For this exercise, you're going to do 2 feet in and 1 foot out, 2 feet in, 1 foot out, 2 feet in, 1 foot out. And with this one, you're going backwards instead of forwards. You want to really make sure that they're taking the time to make sure that they're getting both feet into each rung, and if not, they can start over. But once they get the hang of it, then they can speed it up faster and faster. Like right here, my friend's still trying to get it, so she's going a little bit slower. Once you get more of the hang of it, you can go a little bit faster, and this really works both speed and agility. Next up, we have in and outs laterally or to the side. For this one, you're going to do 2 steps in, and then you're going to step forward, 2 steps in, then step back, 2 steps in, step forward, 2 steps in, step back, forward, back. For this one, you're going to have to do both feet in, both feet out, just because with this one, it wasn't really possible to go 2 and then 1. I got a little excited at the end because I figured it out. So with this one, you want to make sure it's 2 feet in, 2 feet forward, 2 feet in, 2 feet back, 2 feet in, forward, and then back. With this one, it's a really great for changing direction sideways. So for example, if you're blocking someone and need to react either left or right, this is a great exercise to get that training both for your mind and for your muscles. Next up, we have modality number 2, which is closed agility cone drills. These require an athlete to perform a pre-programmed pattern of movements using cones or other implements. With this drill, because it is pre-programmed, that means there is no external stimulus to react to. First up, we have the Z drill with the direction lateral, diagonal, lateral. For this exercise, you will begin by starting at the first cone in the athletic ready position with a lowered center of mass and a stance wider than shoulder width. From there, you will side shuffle to the next cone while keeping the center of mass at a constant height, as low as the original center of mass during the start position. You will emphasize pushing the ground away. The athlete should plant at or near the cone and rapidly transition into a sprint towards the cone located at the diagonal. While approaching this cone, the athlete should effectively decelerate and transition into another shuffle. The Z drill is intended as a beginning level change of direction drill to develop proficiency in the patterns of side shuffling, accelerating out of change of direction, and decelerating. For the second variation, we have the Z drill going backward, diagonal, and then backwards again. For this drill, you will begin by going backwards, then running diagonally at the second cone, and then running backwards again. With this one, you want to begin by starting at the first cone in an athletic ready position with a lowered center of mass and a stance wider than shoulder width, but instead of facing forward this time, you will be facing backwards. You will then get to the second cone and run diagonally to the third cone. From the third cone, you will then run backwardly to the fourth cone. Throughout the movement, one should evaluate the ability to control the trunk effectively during changes and transitions, as well as effective and efficient development of force during deceleration and acceleration. Next up, we have the Z drill with the forward, diagonal, and then forward directions. For this drill, you begin running forward, change, and go diagonally, and then change and go forward again. The Z-cone agility drill is a cardiovascular and plyometric exercise that primarily targets the calves and to a lesser degree also targets the ankles, the calves, hamstrings, your outer thighs, your quads, and your shins. Next up, we have the box drill with the forward, lateral, backward, lateral directions. For this drill, you will begin by running forwards and then side shuffling to the next cone, then pushing back and running backwards, backpedaling, and then shuffling sideways once again. The 4-cone drill combines running, shuffling, and backpedaling to maximize your movement. Your focus should be on staying low and balanced throughout each movement, working on quick, smooth transitions as you change directions and as you transition from running to shuffling to backpedaling. During the sprinting and backpedaling phase, you want to make sure that you're doing the sunglasses pocket motion with your arms while they're in a 90-degree angle. So that means when they're up, they're in the sunglasses. When they're down, they go behind into your hips in the pockets formation. We are going to do forward, backward, forward, backward. To begin this exercise, you are going to sprint forward, change directions, backpedal backwards, then again change direction, sprint forwards, and again change direction and backpedal backwards. With this exercise, we are really focusing on changing direction, and you really want to focus, I didn't do too much of a good job here, of staying low in an athletic stance. That way you have better center of mass. But that is one thing that I would correct, is getting a little bit lower, going a little bit faster, working on my arms to be more of the athletic motion where it's sunglasses pocket, they're kind of swinging everywhere. Same thing for her. She's doing more of a high knee motion and not so much of a sprinting motion. So those are some things that I would correct. For this variation, we're going to go backwards, lateral, backwards, lateral. For this one, begin in an athletic position. You're going to backpedal, change direction, and go side shuffle, change direction, backpedal, change direction, shuffle. A few tips for when you're backpedaling is you want to make sure that the shoulders are over the toes to ensure all weight is forward. From here, you'll slowly move backward while maintaining the chest over the shoulders and posture. Alright, next up we have modality number 3, which is open agility cone drills. Open agility drills differ from closed agility drills because with this one, the athlete does not know a pre-performed pattern. This one is made up on the spot, whether it be through sound, through signaling, through both. It's a lot more reactive and specific and transferable to situations with athletes during competition or during practice. It includes an unpredictable stimulus that they must react to. First up, we have a box drill with sight signaling. With this drill, the coach or director is only pointing to where they want the athlete to go and react to. With this one, there's no sound, there's only the pointing. It's a great reaction drill so that when athletes need to react, they can get there. The goal is to get there as fast as they can as soon as they see the signal. Next up, we have the box drill with sound signaling, so the coach is telling them where to go.
Back left. Okay. Back right. Back left. Front right. Back left. Front left. Back right. Front right. Is that good?
For this next round, we have box drill with sound and sight.
Back right. Front right. Front left. Back right. Back left. Front right. Back right. Left. Back right. Left.
For this exercise, we have the T-shaped agility using sound.
Back. Left. Right. And stop.
For this round, we have the T-shaped agility with sight signaling. For this round, there was no voices activated. It was just the coach pointing to the direction that they wanted the athlete to go into. With this one, you want to make sure that the athlete gets there as fast as they can and changes direction as quickly as they can to react. For this one, the directions were right, left, forward, and then the clap, or the bringing the hands together, was center. Now we have both sound and sight for the T-shaped agility.
Forward. Center. Left. Right. Forward. Back. Left. Right.
Next up, we have modality number 4. With this one, we are doing lower body plyometrics. The plyometric exercises can be used to develop power in any sport that involves sprinting, jumping, quick changes of direction, and kicking. First up, we have squat jumps. Alright, a squat jump is like an air squat, except you push through your legs with enough force to hop into the air once you're going up. Get into a starting position by keeping your feet shoulder width apart. You then bend your knees and go down to a quarter squat position, or however far you want to go. And then once you go back up, you're going to go into a vertical jump. Here's just a different angle. So with this one, I'm going down and then pushing up as hard as I can so that I can get that vertical jump, pointing my toes at the top once I'm in the air. Alright, so for this round, we're going to do narrow stance squat jumps. With this squat jump, you want to make sure that your feet and knees are together, so we're kind of standing like we would as a pencil. From there, you're going to bend down as you would in a normal squat, and then push up through your toes into a vertical jump. For this one, you kind of want to think that when you're at the top, you're kind of feeling like Iron Man almost, pushing down. Here's just a different angle with this one, so bending, pushing up, jumping, pushing down. Feet and knees are together because this is a narrow stance. Squat jumps are a really good exercise to help prevent injury and reduce risk of injury. It also helps with muscle control in the knees as well. Next up, we have a wide stance squat jumps. So for this one, we're going to start with our feet wider than shoulder width apart. From there, you're going to go down as far as you can into a squat and then push up through your toes and jump. So down, down, up, down, down, up. With this one, it can also be commonly known as a frog jump, but for the sake of being biomechanically correct, it is a wide stance squat jump. Here's just a different angle. With this one, you can kind of see how my shoulders go past my knees and I'm arching my back. So the one thing that I would correct with that is making sure that my shoulders stay over my knees and I'm not arching my back as much. Alright, next up we have jumping split squats. For this exercise, you want to get to where your feet are in a staggered position, both legs straight, flat on the ground. From there, you're going to bend your knees down as far as you can to a 90-degree angle, and then push up through your toes and jump. This one's a little bit more difficult for me just because I have a torn meniscus and I tore my ACL, so I'm not as strong as I once was. It's a lot of balance for me and it's a lot of control that I need to work on. But with this one, you want to think 90-90 with your knees, push up through your toes as far as you can. Next up, we have front foot elevated. Alright, so for this one, the biomechanics are going to be pretty much the same. You're still squatting down with your feet staggered and jumping through at the top. The only difference is your front foot is elevated. This one was a little bit harder for me to stay balanced just because I do struggle with split squats. The difference that elevating your front foot does is more of the front leg load creates greater pelvic rotation towards the lead leg. So with that front foot elevation, it reduces leg loading and biases through external rotation. Here's just a different angle with that one. As you can see, I kind of lose my balance a little bit and have to fix it. Next up, we have back foot elevated. Alright, so for this one, our back foot is now elevated. This works on unilateral muscle control as well. The primary muscles that are worked during the split squat are the quadriceps with the gluteus maximus, your soleus, and the adductor magnus working to assist. The stabilizers in this exercise involve your hamstring, your gastrocnemius, your gluteus medius, and your gluteus minimus. Here's just a different angle now where you can see me sideways. I'm really pushing through my toes to get up as high as I can, trying to get as low as I can into the 90-degree. One thing I would fix though is I do need to get a little bit deeper into that squat. Alright, moving forward, we have modality number 5, upper body plyos. First up, we're doing push-off push-ups on floor level. For this exercise, you are going to get into a plank position, shoulders over your wrists, hips a little bit lower than what I have them, and you're going to go down as far as you can, and then push up off through your hands, and back down into the repeating motion. I will say I do need to squeeze my glutes a little bit more and squeeze my core so that it's a little bit more straight. For this round, our hands will be elevated. You will start in a push-up position with your hands elevated on an elevated surface. You will then push down, bending both arms to a 90-degree angle, and then push up off through your hands away from the object. With this one, it makes it a little bit easier for if you're a beginner doing push-off push-ups because you're not at such a deep angle and it's a little bit easier to push down and push up off. . With this round, your feet will be elevated. For this one, you're going to get into a plank position, so your shoulders should be over your wrists, your feet will be elevated. You will then get into the starting position where you should be in a straight line. My glutes are a little bit higher than I like to be. I don't want to be in a V-shaped. Next up, we have chest pass. For this exercise, you're going to begin by standing facing a wall, holding a medicine ball or basketball or any kind of ball. I could only use a plyo ball just because that's what we had. From there, you're going to throw the ball by pushing it away from the chest, extending the arms, and flipping the wrist if possible. You want to make sure that the ball stays by chest level. You don't want it to go kind of everywhere, kind of like how I did. Now we will do it sitting. So with this exercise, it is the same motion with the arms, but now instead of having the legs to rely on, you are strictly using just your upper body. And it makes it a little bit more specific to the upper body and a little bit easier if you're not used to it. Now we will do it lying supine. For this exercise, you'll begin by laying down with your back flat against the floor. Take the medicine ball and hold it to your chest. Use your arms and throw the medicine ball up into the air, and then you will then catch it and repeat that. With this one, you are targeting mostly your chest, your shoulders, and your abs. Chest passes are a great exercise for athletes such as basketball players because that is a constant movement in their sport. Alright, round 6, we have trunk plyometrics. For this round, we're going to start with chest throw sit-ups with both feet on the ground. To begin this exercise, we are going to do a sit-up, and when at the top, throw the ball up and catch it on the way down. This one is really working our core and chest strength, thus being trunk plyometrics because we're working our core. So we're just going to push up, throw the ball, and back down. With this one, you really want to make sure, because it's plyometrics, that it's one smooth, fluid movement and you're not stopping, because then it would take away the plyometric aspect of this exercise. One thing I will say is you want to make sure that you keep the ball over your hips and it stays in a straight line, so you don't want to throw too high. Next up, we have chest throw sit-up with one foot. Alright, so to begin this exercise, same thing, you're going to start with a sit-up, but now instead of both feet being planted, we're going to go ahead and just do the one foot planted. The other foot is going to try and stay into a 90-degree angle. Biggest thing here is you want to make sure that you're not really using that leg to go back and forth. You kind of want to keep it in one spot. With this one, it's making it to where we can progress into no feet while using the sit-up, but this is a great entry level into that. So start with 2 feet and then slowly make it harder by taking away that 1 foot. Right here, I'm just going to switch legs, quick change, yep, and like that, still going down and then throwing the ball up over our head. So this also still works our trunk. It also adds a little bit of a hip flexor aspect with this one, just because we're having to hold that leg up as well. Now we have chest throw sit-ups with no feet on the ground. So for this one, you're going to start with a flat hollow back, and then you're going to go down, throw that ball up on the way up, and catch it on the way down. This one's really hard because you don't have anything to ground you or to plant, so you're really focusing on that balance and trying to stay with the center of gravity with this one. For this next exercise, we have Russian twists with both feet. For this exercise, you're going to sit with bent knees and your feet pressing firmly into the floor, holding your hands next to your chest. You will then sit back slightly, keeping your spine straight. You will then twist to the left or right, punching your right arm over to the left, and then you will repeat on opposite sides. So you're just going side to side, twisting that torso over and over again, making sure that your head follows where your hands are going. This is a great exercise because it engages your core, strengthens your abdominal muscles as well as your lower back. It helps tone and tighten your abs, your obliques, and alright, now we have with one foot on the ground. Alright, so for this one, it's going to be the same thing. You want to sit with both knees bent, and then you're going to slightly lean back, but now we're going to have where that one foot is elevated, and you're still going to do the torso twist, touching that ball on each side of your side, twisting, making sure your head follows. This one just makes it a little bit harder because you're having to balance a little bit more, and it gets you ready for when you want to try and do 2 feet without being in the air. So 2 feet in the air. This is just a great way to kind of work your way into that. It still works your core, still works your obliques a little bit. This also does work a little bit of your hip flexors because you are having to hold your foot off that ground as well. For the last exercise, we have Russian twist with no feet on the ground. Just like the name suggests, no feet are on the ground. Your knees are still bent, they're just not planted. You're still leaning back slightly. With this one, you are just twisting your torso. This one really works on stabilization, balance, so that we can go ahead and strengthen those areas. This one is not easy, so if you're not ready for this one, you can go back and do the single leg Russian twists. And for the grand finale, we have the cool down and stretch portion of this video. A cool down is used to promote recovery and bring back down your core temperature to pre-workout levels. We have the seated lean back stretch. Alright, to begin this exercise, you're going to begin by sitting with both legs straight out in front of you. I like to bend mine just because I feel like I get a deeper stretch this way. You will then place your palms onto the floor about 12 inches behind your hips. I can go a little bit further, so go as far as you can, and then you're going to slide your hands backwards and lean backwards. This one is kind of painful if you're not used to it, so you can go ahead and adjust to need be. So if you want it easier, your hands should be closer to your hips. If you want to make it harder, push your hands farther away from your hips. If you have double jointed elbows, aka laxed joints in your elbows, this one is a little bit harder just because it puts a little bit more pressure into that elbow and it's a little bit more painful that way, but if you're used to it or you do this exercise more, you can go a little bit further. This is a great stretch for acrobatic sports such as gymnastics, cheerleading, or dance, because it really stretches the shoulders to the point where you're going above the normal range of motion to really get that shoulder stretched. Next up, we have the flexed arm seated lean back. To begin this exercise, you're going to start in a sitting position with both knees bent. You will then lean back with your arms flexed. Your fingers should be facing your hips, and you're going to push down as far as you are comfortable. This is a great stretch for your shoulders, and it really opens them up. This is really good for, once again, the acrobatic athletes such as gymnasts, cheerleaders, and dancers, just so that we can get that range of motion and really relax and loosen those joints. This exercise really focuses on those deltoids and your pectoralis major muscles as well. For this round, we have the spinal twists. Alright, so for this one, you're going to begin with sitting with the legs straight and the upper body nearly vertical. You will then place one leg to the opposite side of the same side. You will then place the back of the elbow onto that leg that is bent, and you will slowly twist that torso. You're going to place that right palm on the floor about a foot away from you, so that arm behind you is going to be about a foot away. You will then push the right knee to the left with the elbow, turning your shoulders and head to the right as far as possible, trying to look behind you. With this one, you are really stretching those internal oblique muscles, your external oblique muscles, your piriformis, your rector spinae, etc., etc. This one feels really, really good after a back day, a little bit of chest. It really just works that side and lower body. Right here, I just switch sides just to do it again. So again, you're going to start with both feet forward, bend that knee over that straight leg. The arm that's bent is going to be pushed off your knee. Arm behind you is more of a stabilizer and helps to twist those shoulders. Again, you kind of want to look behind you. I don't know why I was looking straight forward. Your goal is to look behind you as much as possible. Alright, for this round we have supine knee flexion. To begin this exercise, you are going to lay on your back with your legs straight out. From there, you are going to flex one knee and hip, bringing the thigh towards your chest. You will place both hands on your knee. If you want to do it the correct way, you're supposed to put your hands below onto your like behind the thigh, but I feel like I get more range of motion putting my hands above onto my knee so that I can pull it a little bit farther. Completely up to you, depends on what you're feeling. The muscles affected during this exercise are your hip extensors, which are your gluteus maximus and your hamstrings, and you're really just stretching those glutes and hammies. If you want to make it a little bit harder, you can flex those feet and it'll really stretch, engaging those calves as well. This is a really great stretch for those running sports such as soccer, track whenever you're sprinting, or even long distance cross country runners. It just really stretches out those legs and helps promote recovery and homeostasis back into that area. For this round, we have side lying quadriceps. Alright, to begin this exercise, you will begin by lying on your side. You will then grab that upper leg with the arm that is not holding you stable. So you're going to lie on your side with both legs straight, place the elbow on the floor, and the upper arm perpendicular to that floor. You will then place that upper arm at a 45-degree angle to the torso. You will flex the right leg with the heel moving toward your glutes. You will then grasp the front of that ankle with your hand and pull towards your glutes. This is a result of knee flexion and hip extension. The muscles affected during this stretch are your quadriceps and your iliopsoas. So I'm going to go ahead and switch sides. Quick movie magic right there. So once again, that upper arm and upper leg, you are grabbing your ankle with that wrist. That lower arm should be at a 90-degree angle. Your shoulder should be right where your elbow's at. That bottom leg is straight. And you're really pulling that knee as far back as you can with that upper arm. This is a great stretch, once again, for those track athletes or the sports that involve a lot of running. So soccer, cross country, even basketball, because there's a lot of running back and forth with that sport as well. It just really stretches out those quads. For this round, we have supine hamstrings. To begin, you're going to lie on your back with one leg out in front. You can either choose to have that leg straight or bent. I prefer bent, so I have a little bit more control. That leg that's being elevated, you want to lock it out as much as you can. You can do this with or without a band. I prefer to do it with a band because I get a little bit more of a stretch that way, but if you choose to do it without a band, you're going to grab right where your calf is at. You're holding this for about a minute each side, making sure that you're breathing, inhaling, exhaling. When you're inhaling, go ahead and inhale, and then exhale. You're going to bring that foot a little bit closer to the ground. Alright, we're going to go ahead and switch it up right about now, and then we're going to do the same thing. With this one, you don't have to go into the starting position, you can kind of just switch it. With this one, same thing, just making sure that foot that is elevated, that leg that's elevated, the leg is straight. This is a really great exercise, like the name suggests, for your hamstrings. You can also kind of feel it in your calves the more you flex that foot. With this one, it's just a really great exercise or stretch for the athletes that need that flexibility in their legs. So for example, the dancers, cheerleaders, and gymnasts for when they're doing their leaps and jumps. For this round, we have the 90-90 stretch. For this exercise, you'll begin with one knee internally rotated at a 90-degree angle, and then the other one will be externally rotated at a 90-degree angle. This stretch is great for hip mobility, and during this movement, you'll rotate one hip externally while the other is rotated internally. This one's kind of familiar to the pigeon pose, if you know what that one is, because it puts your hips into an external rotation, but internal rotation is not as common, so it's a little bit challenging if you're not used to it. Some benefits that you can get from this are it decreases the risk of injury, it corrects muscle imbalances, and increases joint mobility. The 90-90 stretch is one of the most effective ways to increase your hip mobility while reducing hip pain. If you're able to rotate your hips fully and easily, it's not only important for just daily activities such as walking, getting dressed, sports such as running and weightlifting. So this is really great for opening up those hips and making sure that you have mobility for those exercises and activities. This stretch specifically targets your hip capsule, including your glutes, your piriformis, your ipsas, your hip flexors, your hip abductors, and your hip adductors. For this round, we have the wall stretch. For this exercise, begin by standing facing the wall with your feet shoulder width apart and toes about 2 feet away. You're going to then lean forward, placing the hands on the wall. You're going to step back about 2 feet from the wall with the stretched leg while knee is flexing the opposite. You will then extend the knee of the stretched leg and the lower heel to the floor to apply the stretch. So with this one, you're really just kind of in a lunge position almost, or a split squat. With this one, so that bent leg, or that front leg is bent, that back leg is straight, making sure that your feet stay, your heels stay on the ground. With this one, you're really stretching your gastrocnemius, your soleus, and your Achilles tendon. So aka you're stretching your calves with this exercise. So with this one, I went ahead and switched directions. You're going to go ahead and same thing, just bend that front leg, back leg is completely straight, leaning forward into it, really stretching those calves. This is a great stretch for the athletes that really use their lower body. So a lot of running athletes such as track, the soccer players, cross country. This is also really good for gymnasts because we really need those calf muscles to be stretched out because we're constantly using our legs. So this is a great stretch. One thing that I would correct though with this exercise is I'm not far enough away from the wall. I did still feel a stretch, but I could start with that front foot a little further away from the wall. Next up, I have wall angels for 12 reps. To begin this exercise, you will begin by standing against a wall. You will then have your head, your back, your glutes, and your heels against that wall, so no space in between. You'll start with your elbows flexed, your arms flexed, and back to where they're touching the wall, so you want your wrists touching the wall. You will then keep your arms in that flex position and bring them up over your head, kind of making a halo or a circle, and then bring them back down, repeating that 12 times. This exercise is really great for injured athletes. If they have any shoulder injuries, this is a great exercise for recovery for that. Wall angels can benefit you by mobilizing the shoulder girdle. It decreases forward head positioning. It opens up the chest and reduces rounded shoulders by stretching the muscles on the front of the body. So, for example, your pectoralis major. It activates and strengthens the rhomboids and lower and middle traps of your back, and it reduces tension in the upper traps. This would be a great stretch for athletes such as baseball or softball players as well.